Testing. Okay. Hey Josh Job, welcome to the stream. Hey Sasquatch Aquatics, welcome to the stream. I know a lot of people are, hey Cobwebs Caverns, welcome to the stream. I know a lot of people are probably still in Corey and Jim's video. I was just in there myself. They had like 900 something people in there. That's pretty amazing. Once again, I have basically no axe to grind today. I keep thinking about stuff. What would I like to talk about? I don't know if any of you watch or follow him, but Old School Fish Guy. Yeah, Josh, you're right. He's doing away with guppies. That won't last long. We all know Corey loves guppies. Sooner or later, he'll be back into guppies. I did notice that Old School Fish Guy, and if you guys haven't followed him, Chansky85 says, my favorite Apisto has a bulging eye. He still eats and all other fish are healthy. Best idea for treatment. Chansky, I would need to really give you a solid answer. I would need to do some research on it, but my gut answer is that bulging eyes are often caused by either an internal bacteria that is causing a swelling under the eye. I'm trying to think about this. I've had this problem before, but it was a long time ago. And Cobwebs is saying Popeye is usually a symptom of something else. Into a hospital tank and some general meds. That's a possibility. I have also seen Popeye go away on its own if you just do serious water changes. It's often symptomatic of lax water changes. I'm not trying to disparage you, Chansky85, but sometimes that's what goes on. You get lax on your water changes and your fish will come up with something like Popeye. And Cobwebs is right that it's usually a symptom of something else. I think there's several different base reasons that it could be, and it strikes me that bacteria is one of them. Yeah, Sasquatch Aquatic says another case of pristine water being the best medicine. And it's Sasquatch Aquatic's opinion that that's true, and it is a great many fish keepers' opinion that little minor things can often be solved by good water changes. That doesn't mean that that's the case in every case, but a lot of times little nagging problems in a fish tank can be solved by upping the water change. There are people in the hobby from the way back old school that will tell you you need to do 50% water change every day. And if you've got a 150-gallon tank, if you've got a 600-gallon tank, that's a lot of water. But they still swear by it. Go look up Mel on YouTube. Mel does those water changes day in, day out, and his fish show how well they thrive because of it. Jack Watley for discus. Chansky, I'm not offering you much help. I understand that. I'd really have to get the books out and dig through them to acquaint myself with Josh Job says he's planning to go live after me, if you want to mention it. Okay, Josh, now there have been in the past a few other people that go live after me too, so you might want to watch that and see if you're stepping on somebody's toes. Jeremy, Sergeant Tanks, always does it a lot too, but I noticed he's already gone today. I missed that. Cobwebs is going to feed the multis. Popeye is a dangerous problem in a lot of cases, and usually what happens is the fish will lose the eye if it's not treated. But I may be completely off base on this, and do not, quote me on it, but it's possible that it's a bacterial issue that's causing a buildup of fluid or gas underneath the eye and pushing it out. But I would definitely recommend looking. I mean, you can look online, but I always prefer to have fish disease books at hand so I can dig through them. Even if they're out of date, it may offer you a better way of understanding how it used to be treated. And a lot of times the used to be treated ways are much less involved with modern medication than, there was a time when we treated certain diseases in our tank by throwing a penny in the tank, because the copper on the penny would end up in the water just a little bit, and it would be enough to treat a lot of if you buy a really old school tank, one that someone's had for 20 or 30 years, and you clean the gravel out of it, you're very likely to find a penny in that gravel. And that's why, because a lot of the old school ways of doing things were simple like that, Mike Kinseth says, hey, I'm a good sub. I heard so many good things about you. Well, don't believe everything you hear, Mike. I try to give you guys your money's worth, which is 0 money down, 0 money a month, 0 money forever, and I try to give you your $0 worth every week. Sasquatch says, when I have run into Popeye before on top of pristine water, I will add some salt and raise the temperature a little. So far, so good. Yeah. A lot of the stuff that goes wrong with our fish can be dealt with in minor fashions, in the sense of how we Sasquatch says he found a penny in a 7-foot tank and was wondering why. Yep, that's why. You got your tank. You got your tank from an old school fish person, and somebody gave them the tip that if you throw a penny in your tank, it will take care of a lot of the issues that copper sulfate will take care of. Now, that can be an issue if you're keeping something that is very sensitive to copper, like invertebrates, shrimp, those sorts of things. Copper can be very dangerous to them and can kill them in very small amounts. So the old school way of flipping a penny in the tank, it might not work sometimes. But yeah, Mike, welcome to the stream. I think you'll find that there are a lot of good people that hang out here that know a lot about fish and a lot about fish keeping. They've had a lot of experience. So Um, check out the people that are in the channel. Check out the people that are generally here. You're going to find some people that are pretty knowledgeable about the fish keeping, and you're among friends. You know, we keep fish. Some of us have been doing it for a very long time. I was going to talk about Old School Fish Guy's little talk that he did about community tanks, and I found it very enlightening because, okay, Josh, I'll try to, my day's been pretty busy, but I'll try to get in there if I can, man. And have a good rest of your weekend. Old School Fish Guy is one of the people that got me doing this, because I realized if he could do it, I could do it, you know. And I think that all of you should also understand that as well. If I can do it, you can do it. And maybe what you have to offer is a little different from what everybody else has to offer. Maybe you're stronger in some areas and weaker in other areas. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be out there trying to help people that have less experience than you do. So I think that everyone should, if they are capable of doing it and willing to do it, start your own live streams. We need more and more people in this hobby talking about how to keep fish, engaging people in better practices, and that sort of thing. But Don, Old School Fish Guy, was talking about how people in the hobby tend to think that a community tank is whatever you throw in there. You know, you might see some rosy barbs and want some of them, and you throw them in, and you might want to put some waroos in there, and you throw them in there, and you might want to put any number of different kinds of fish from all over the world can be stuck together in a community tank. But there are things that you need to consider when you do that. One is the water parameters that each fish requires. Two, where are these fish going to live in the water column, and are you putting a whole bunch of fish that are all going to be competing for food in the same part of the water column, upper, middle, lower. But one of the things that he touched on was, he said that I like to put the same kind of fish from the same kinds of areas together. And he didn't really expand on it very much, but I have spent a long time observing my fish, watching how they act, watching what kind of behaviors they exhibit, and it has become clear to me, and this is on no scientific basis, this is anecdotal, and it is just from my own observation, that fish from different areas of the world don't speak the same language. I had, way back in the day, several very large clown loaches, like 14-inch plus clown loaches. I wanted to be the one that bred clown loaches first, and I worked and worked and worked and worked at it. I also had, they were in a 110-gallon tank. I also had a pair of Menaguensi jaguar cichlids in that tank that were probably 8 inches or so, and they literally got too big for the, I think I had them in a 55, and they were literally too big for that tank. So of course I had room in the 110, and I thought, I'll stick them in the 110. There'll be plenty of room. The clown loaches are mostly on the bottom. They'll do just fine. They did not do just fine. The Managawan side, the Jaguars would try to tell the clown loaches to get out of their area. They set up the house in a corner of the tank and started cleaning off rocks in that area, like they were going to, lay eggs in that area. Hey, Lord Vader, welcome to the stream. They would do everything they could in every way they knew how to show those clown loaches to not enter their area and to leave them alone. But the clown loaches didn't understand the body motions, the flaring of their fins. They just did not speak the same language. And it ended up being a really bad situation because the Jaguars basically decided they needed to kill the clown loaches to keep the clown loaches out of that corner of the tank, because the clown loaches would not take the hint. They did not, yeah, that's true also, Cobwebs. And especially when they're very large. And what the jaguar cichlids did not understand was that clown loaches are very well armed. They have spines that they can fold out from their cheeks, that fold straight out, and they will ravage another fish with those spines. And so it ended up being a bloody battleground. I had to pull the jaguars out of that tank. But I watched those jaguars go through their territorial behaviors to those clown loaches over and over and over again. They would dip their heads, they would flare their fins, they would shake, they would look as mean and large as they could and try to convince those big clown loaches to get out of their space. So, and hey, Mary Beth Mabe, welcome to the stream. And Cobwebs is right that clown loaches basically have no fear. I've never seen a clown loach be afraid of anything, with good reason. Hey, Kyle, welcome to the stream, man. Hey, Jeremy, welcome to the stream. Jeremy, I saw that you went earlier. Josh Job said that he was going to try to go live after I did, here in another 40 minutes. Are you going to go live? Hey, Joel, Glass Boxes, welcome to the stream. Yeah, but my point, Cobwebs says, I think that loaches are just mucking about most of the time. They are fun fish, not territorial, but cichlids don't understand. AHC Aqua, welcome to the stream. Yeah, Jeremy, I saw that you went earlier. I'm sorry that I missed it. That's an interesting topic. So you want to be a fish keeper. And I would highly recommend all of you that don't know Jeremy, please go check Jeremy Sergeant Tank's Pets out. Jenna, welcome to the stream. I really think that fish speak through their actions and their behaviors, and that fish that are from similar areas they really understand each other better. When one large fish exhibits a territorial behavior, that the smaller fish or even some other larger fish will recognize the behavior, will understand exactly what it means. Hey, Corona Ken. Yeah, I've got no ox in the game with Army or Navy. Good luck to both of them, or whoever you're supporting. I think that, hey, John Williams, welcome to the stream. I think that fish from the same locales and from similar regions, so that they probably at one time had a common ancestor, not that far back had a common ancestor, all understand the same kind of behaviors and actions that a fish will take. Corey had mentioned your good question about asking critical, suggestive questions and not be offensive. He couldn't come up with a way it would not. Well, I've got to applaud Corey for his war against negative behavior on social media. He just really hates it. He just really hates that people tend to trash each other. Oh, I'm better than you are, and what you're doing is horribly wrong. I honestly felt like I was trying to thread the needle by the things that I was saying. If you really watch that video that's in question, and this is, hey, David's Fish Tanks, welcome to the stream. If you really watch that video that's in question about the fish that were brought in, because Corey and Bob and I are probably going to be in exactly those shoes in a little less than a year. We're going to have fish coming in at the airport, which will probably have been delayed or something, and be critical that we get them out of the water as soon as possible. And so to me, it was a joy to see that, to have a pre-knowledge of exactly what it's going to be like. If you watch that video closely, Corey says to him exactly what I said. So it's one thing for Corey to say that we can't be critical, but it's another thing to say that Corey I've heard a little bit about this Kevin Novak thing too. Corey offered the same exact solution to, oh gosh, his name's escaping me now. The guy that got the fish in, David? I can't remember his name right offhand now. He offered exactly the same, hey Island Queen, welcome to the stream. He offered the exact same suggestion that most of us that were quote, quote, being negative offered, that he needed to plop and drop those fish because the water was so bad. Dean, thank you, Vals. So, on the one hand, I support Corey completely in his desire to make negative behavior and negative comments go away on the internet. I am not at all adverse to him doing that. But on the other hand, I also think that it's important that the topic be fully discussed and that options be made clear. What are your options in a situation like that? So that anyone else that's faced with that at least has, quote, quote, expert opinion telling them what the options is. Yeah, I think Kevin Novak has some fairly advanced ideas about the way to do certain things. And I think that unfortunately he's looking down his nose at everyone that doesn't do things exactly like he wants it. Yeah, I had no interest in abusing someone else. I've got no interest in disparaging other people. You know, I mean, I may lean that way sometimes. You know, I may say things that are considered confrontational or controversial sometimes. I can't help it. I'm old. I'm going to say what I think, and my mouth is faster than my brain sometimes. Cobwebs, HC Aqua says, Cobwebs, he did a bit on anti-Monte Carlo, equal bad malm. And Lucas commented in disagreement, and I caught that on Lucas's stream, that he was laughing that he had been... Thanks, glass boxes. Yeah, Val's... I don't disagree. I mean, I've got to admit that it stung a little bit to have both of the comment threads that I had commented on be deleted. I think, you know, that's going a little bit too far, but it's Corey's channel, it's Corey's video, it's Corey's desire to not let personal conflict or negative behavior affect how other people view the content. So I'm not going to tell him he can't do it. I'm not going to tell him I hate him because he hurt my feelings. No, that's not what I'm about either. I'm interested in there being open discussion. I'm interested in there being freedom to say what you think. But I also think that you need to consider how other people may perceive that. And I think that's Corey decided long ago. Yeah, Cobweb says, but also what works perfectly well for one fish keeper might not work for another. And that's very, very true. Well, HC Aqua, he deleted several threads that he felt like were leaning towards the negative. And so I had asked him in one if it was possible to say what most of the people were saying without it coming out as a negative. You know, to say, hey, when you're in a situation where you've got a bunch of bad water and fish that have been in a bag full of bad water being shipped, and you open that bag to the air, suddenly the oxygen hits that water and ammonia is the product. The water turns more and more and more ammonia. Whereas with it being bagged up and only having so much air in the bag, yeah, Sasquatch, I don't know what to tell you about that. A lot of times mods get a little bit out of hand with who they ban. You know, I'm late to the trigger a lot of the time, but I try to at least understand what the commenter is trying to say before I, block or ban. Yeah, HC Aqua, that's my point exactly. Well, Kyle, you're right. Ammonia isn't always produced. But when you open a bag of water and it smells foul, that is ammonia being produced, in my opinion. And that's not a scientific thing. But anytime you open a bag of water and it's, whoa, you've got to back away from it. you're breathing ammonia to me. And so if you open a bag that has been sealed and it gives off that bad of a smell when you open it, that means all that oxygen has gone into that bag, and that water is getting worse by the second. And to me, when I open a bag like that, I want to dump it straight through a net and go straight into a tank. Yes, not acclimatizing fish is dangerous, but it's not as dangerous to me as leaving them in a bag full of water that will kill them, almost instantly. Ammonia is going to kill fish. That's why we test for ammonia in our tanks. And 1 ppm is too much in our tanks, So if you were to, he did test that water in one of those bags, and you saw it go green instantly, from yellow to green instantly. And part of that is the air hitting that water. So to me, that was a case where I felt like it was important to offer options and explain those options. And it just didn't happen. It was perceived as being negative, and it was perceived as being hurtful, and that was not my intention at all. But I'm not going to argue with the thought process that went behind Corey deleting parts of the comments. That's Corey. Corey gets to decide how things go on Corey's videos, comments, Facebook, all of it. And he has made no bones about the fact that he doesn't want anything to be negative. He does not want people to be run off because people are browbeating them because everything they've done is wrong. And that's a pretty tough line to walk. It's hard to maintain that when there's such a fine line between it sometimes. Yes, I recognize that Dean was adding water. He was acclimatizing. And I also recognize that there were bags of fish where there was no problem at all with the water, that they were not suffering from ammonia burn. So in the cases where the fish were not suffering, then Dean was perfectly within the right parameters to try to acclimatize those fish in the water they were in to the water he was going to add them to, and that is, and this is a really, it's not controversial, but it is a really widely varied, people will give you reasons why acclimation is bad, and people will give you reasons why plop and drop is bad, but you will find that people generally do one or the other. The people that do plop and drop rarely acclimate. So, it's one of those areas of the hobby where people have different reasons, and they have learned what they have learned that has worked for them. John Williams is saying, but this Kevin Novak has a PhD and thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. He really put down Corey big time on his thread on carpeting plants and their creation of mulch. Yeah, I have not gone and watched those videos, so I'm not really going to comment about, my understanding is that Novak is a little off the beaten path. Yeah, you acclimate and then you pour them through a net and put them in a tank. Yes, you rarely want to add water from an outside source to your tank. So in all cases, you're going to end up pouring them through a net and dropping them, you know. Mary Beth says, side note, I now have 5 Cory cats, 5 glow light tetras, 4 short fin danios, 1 bristlenose pleca, 1 beta, and 3 ghost shrimp, numerous snails of various sizes, and about 15 types of plants, and a sponge filter. Well, grats, Mary Beth. I'm not sure where you're going with that, but congratulations on having all those fish. Cobweb says the best teachers teach by encouragement and inspiration, not by lecturing and browbeating. In a 10-gallon tank. Now that's a lot of fish in a 10-gallon tank, Mary Beth. I would highly recommend a lot of regular water changes in that situation. That's a lot of fish for a 10. Sasquatch Aquatic says, I used to acclimate, now I plop and drop. I plop and drop immediately when there's a bad situation. Yeah, Mary Beth, you might step it up a notch. Do less water and more changes a week. Hey, H2O fishes, welcome to the stream. I plop and drop when the situation requires it for me, that I'm dealing with fish that one has died in the bag with them, or several have died in the bag, and I'm trying to save the live ones, and it's more important to me to get them in fresh water. And then, there's a lot of people that don't even acclimate. There's a lot of people that float a bag to allow it to raise to the temperature of the tank, then pour them through a net and drop them in. But when I'm dealing with something that I'm unsure of, when I'm dealing with something that I think is sensitive, that I've spent a lot of money on, then I pour them out into another container in the water that they're in, and I slowly acclimate them by drip method to the water that they are going into, until there's at least twice, and most of the time 3 times as much of the tank water in with their water as what they had before, and then I pour them through a net and put them in a tank. So they get a temperature acclimation and a water parameter acclimation at the same time. Now that's when I've spent more money. No, Vals, acclimation really means to add drip acclimate, to pour them through, to put them in a separate container and drip water from the tank they're going into that container with them very slowly, a drip and then a drip, so that they are now in water that is 3/4 what the tank is going to be and 1/4 of what they came from, and then you are free to pour them through a net and add them to the tank, and their acclimation to the new tank water will not be as hard. And drip acclimation takes several hours usually. Sometimes it's less, but most often will take several hours, so they slowly get a... Hey Priscilla, welcome to the stream. I'm doing as well as can be expected, Priscilla. Life sucks when you get old, but there you go. It's better than the alternative. Not getting old sucks too. If those of you in the stream now don't know who Priscilla MK Art is, You can look at my avatar and my logo art, and that will give you an introduction to the skill of Priscilla's work. And I would highly recommend that you check out her channel for her fish knowledge, and that if you are in the market for art, that you consider Priscilla as a possible option for artwork that you need done, especially fish artwork. She can do lifelike extremely well. It's obvious to me that she has worked very hard at visually understanding the physical makeup of different kinds of fish so that she can draw them well. Maybe she just has instant recognition and can see how they're made. You'd have to ask her about that. I have absolutely no skill in artwork, so I have no clue how that goes about. But I would definitely recommend that you check Priscilla out. Okay, evidently she's not doing commission right now. Keep goading her. Perhaps she will. I'm sure if the money's right. And basically, I'm just teasing you, Priscilla. You do excellent artwork. And if nothing else, they need to go by your channel just to check out the artwork and the art stuff that you have up on your channel for them to view. I really enjoyed the video, the time lapse of you drawing. I thought that was a remarkable video, and one that not very many of us can actually produce. Okay, where are we at on time? There you go. I would tell you to catch her before she becomes so famous that none of us can afford her. Pretty soon, it'll cost thousands of dollars to get her to do a piece of artwork for you. And as I have showed off many times, I have a piece of artwork of hers. Of my very ownish. And a very beautiful piece of artwork it is. And I thank you profusely, Priscilla. It was exactly what I wanted. Yes, I challenged Priscilla. Oh, Cobwebs is asking me how the... did my stream just lock up? Somebody respond. I'm not sure, but my stream may have locked up. Okay, good. Okay, I presented Priscilla a challenge because I wanted a mouthful of smiling human teeth in my fish, and that was completely alien to Priscilla drawing. It's locked up on my YouTube page, so I guess that's why I'm feeling like it's locked up. Cobwebs is asking me about how the sides of... I'm going to do a vinyl community, series of vinyl community videos on the sides of album choice. and basically it's going to be perfect album side. The one thing about vinyl records is that we had we had to choose which side of a record we were going to play. And I think that that's pretty alien in today's world. Now you just click on everything you want to hear and it plays one after another, after another, after another. Hey Fishman, welcome to the stream. Hey White, welcome to the stream. If you were in before, I didn't notice you. I'm sorry. So I'm going to do a series of videos on what I think are perfect album sides. The perfect side. Yeah, Cobwebs, that's a good one. I do not have Texas Flood on vinyl. I've got it on CD, so I can't use that one. But I do have some Stevie Ray Vaughan, so I may use them. Ah, there's Priscilla's art link. And I highly recommend that all of you check it out. If nothing else, to recognize the skill with which she does her artwork. Yeah, Stevie Ray was amazing. Fishman is the big winner. I guess I must have missed something. Oh, Jenna's contest. Wow. Congrats, Fishman. That was a pretty big contest. I didn't enter, but that was a big contest. Congratulations. Oh, I haven't done my tip, my random tip. You guys are letting me get away without doing a random tip. Okay, this is in the Better Aquascaping. 218 is bubbling rocks make an intriguing feature. For an unusual feature and focal point in the aquarium, place air stones under piles of rocks and hide the air line under the substrate and behind decor. Adjust the flow to suit your needs and the air bubbles will mysteriously rise from the top of the rocks. The same effect can be achieved with hollow decor such as artificial barnacles or suitable pieces of wood. Make sure the air stones are positioned to allow easy access for periodic replacement or cleaning. And while I could, and this is from 500 Ways to Be a Better Freshwater Fish Keeper. If you guys know me or follow me, you will recognize that I am always harping on having books because I think books offer a very useful form of information dispersal, because there are times when you read a book when you're not ready for what it's really teaching. Oh, ouch. Fishman doesn't live in the States. Anyway, I'm a big proponent of fish magazines and fish books and fish periodicals, and I don't get any money from them. Nobody's sponsoring me. And I may at some point have a problem with 500 Ways to Be a Better Freshwater Fish Keeper. And it is from Firefly. Well, I don't see a printing date. 2005. All rights reserved. No part of this publication may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, photocopying, recording, or otherwise, without the prior written permission from the publisher. So I'm probably in violation of that, using their book as a random tip. So I probably ought to get about the business of getting a hold of them and telling them what I'm doing and throwing myself on the mercy of their... I think that if they sell a few books, hey, woo-ah, good morning. Those of you that don't know, the Korean guy that was doing so many amazing fish videos is woo-ah there in the chat. And I've recommended that you go sub him up several different times, and several different times he's gotten his channel deleted, so I'm not going to recommend that anymore. Yeah, Mary Beth, they probably will mind. Someone will probably let them know and get me in trouble, and I will say to them, how many books have you sold since I started doing these videos? And is it worth more to you for me to promote your book than it is for you to sue me, someone who has nothing for you to get? You know, that's kind of how I feel about the matter. If they told me to cease and desist, I would. But I'm a strong believer that there are ways to learn from books that far outweigh what you can read on the internet and what you can watch on the internet, because there is information in books that you are not ready to learn at this point in your skill level yet. And you have a book forever, or as long as you keep it. So you can revisit that book several years later and read it like you've never read it before, because suddenly parts of it will make more sense to you. You will learn more and different things from a book as your skill level increases. And yes, you can do the same thing reading something online, but having the link to something online and keeping it handy like you can a book by just putting it on the shelves is a far different thing. Corona Ken says, Dwayne, I've already purchased 2 books you've mentioned on your live streams. All right, Corona Ken, was my recommendation of those books valid? You are someone who has purchased books that I recommended. You're someone whose skill level I respect and recognize. And so your comment, yeah, Fishman, books never crash or go down. This is true, especially when you're right in the middle of reading it. Now, if you let your house burn down, books will burn, but or if they get soaked with water, they can be destroyed. David's Fish Tanks, thank you for stopping by. Yeah, Mary Beth, that's exactly it. We should be in this hobby to increase our skill level. If we are not increasing our skill level, then we're doing something wrong, or we're not actually working at it. And don't get me wrong, it's completely possible for someone to just want 500 ways to be a better freshwater fish keeper. And Firefly is the publisher. And that's where I've been getting my random tips. There's 500 random tips in the book. And each one has a little blurb and each section of tips. HC Aqua asks me, do I keep any live cultures for food? Right now, the only live culture that I have is microworms. And I have them because I bought them to feed them to our baby rainbows, our surprise baby rainbows, because microworms are really small, and even baby fish with very tiny throats can generally eat microworms, or the smaller microworms, because they are so little. So that's the only culture that I have, live food culture that I have right now. I've used many others, and I've kept many others, and I recommend a lot of them, but some of them are such a pain in the ass to keep. You know, vinegar worms, there's a lot of them that can really be. Corona Ken says, I love aquariology and have water stains all over it. Yep, me too. I've got a lot of books that I've worn out from going back to continually. And in case you're unaware, and this is just in the pile of trash that is on my desk, and you don't think I actually keep books, $1.08, that's hard not to purchase for $1.08. Yeah, Fishman, that's a great book, and I've seen it. I've just never picked it up. Here is South American cichlids. These were tetras, A Fish Keeper's Guide, and one of my heroes in the fish hobby, who is Dr. Wayne S. Liebel, and he's a doctor that's really a doctor and really knows fish. And this is one of my prized possessions, because on the front page of the book, he signed it for me. I was working the 1975 American Cichlid Association show as a member of the Texas Cichlid group, the club, and we worked the show. We all got t-shirts and worked the show. Well, you take care of that, Grandpa Priscilla, and have a good rest of your weekend. So, South American Cichlids is a book on my desk, handy so I can look it up. And of course, this is the one that I've been reading out of, so that's on my desk. I also have David Sands, another Tetra book, A Fish Keeper's Guide to South American Catfish. And these books are older, and they're small, and they're kind of out of date. This one has 120 pages, 25,000 words, and 100 photographs in it. But they are nonetheless extremely valuable, and the author has tried in a very concise way to get across all the information needed to keep fish. And I just can't do without books like this. Also, and I'm going to butcher his name, Midori Kobayagawa, The World of Catfishes. This is an excellent book, and it's edited by Warren E. Burgess, and it's a tropical fish hobbyist book, and it is incredible. Anybody that's oh yeah, they added some photographs. Anybody that wants to know anything about catfish, this book is great. And also my latest book purchase, Back to Nature Guide to Catfishes. by Ingo Seidel. And once again, I've got the author's signature on the page, the opening page. See you, Susan. Or is it? Yeah, gotta run. You have a good weekend, Susan. So anyway, that's just to prove to you that I do keep books. I do believe in books. I do read books as much as my old eyes will allow me to do it. And that's probably a good place to end the stream, guys. I'm always going to recommend that you use observation as a tool for your fish tanks. And I'm always going to recommend that you purchase, own, check out of the library, books, magazines, periodicals that contain information about fish keeping and fish themselves, because I think it's a wonderful way to ingest knowledge about the fish keeping world from back in the 30s and the 40s and the 20s, much less. Okay, guys, have a good rest of your weekend, and thank you for stopping by and spending some time with me.